refused to share my lottery winnings from a Christmas gift. Now my family's calling me greedy. Hey there, welcome to Story Nest. Subscribing is a small way to show support, but it helps a lot and keeps the stories coming. This past Christmas, I hosted my family's annual holiday party for the first time at my house. It's a big event, one that people look forward to all year. The highlight of the evening is our tradition of white elephant, played with a twist. Everyone brings a wrapped gift, and there are dice and a few house rules that keep things competitive and fun. This year, about 25 family members showed up, which made the game even livelier. Gifts ranged from quirky and cheap to surprisingly thoughtful. As always, the stakes felt higher than they actually were, with people laughing and groaning as the dice dictated trades and gifts were stolen. At the end of the game, some people walked away with their dream gift, while others ended up empty-handed. I was on the lucky side this year. Somehow, I ended up with 4 gifts: a space heater, windshield wipers, a comically massive 20-pound gummy bear, and a $50 Starbucks gift card. Meanwhile, 4 family members ended up without any gifts at all. According to our rules, those without a gift received a $10 consolation prize. One of my cousins, Kelly, got $50 worth of lottery tickets. She looked at them, scoffed, and said something about how they were probably worthless. I had no use for the Starbucks card, so I suggested a trade, but the house rules didn't allow direct trades unless it involved the $10 cash prize. We argued briefly over whether the tickets or gift cards counted as cash equivalent, but the family ultimately sided with her. So, I let it go. But inside, I couldn't help feeling a bit annoyed by how dismissive Kelly had been of those tickets. I tucked my winnings away and thought about scratching the tickets later in private. After the party died down and everyone was enjoying their new gifts, I retreated to my room, my mind still buzzing with the chaos of the evening. The lottery tickets sat in my pocket, forgotten for the moment. As I was unpacking my other gifts, I glanced at the tickets, the shiny $10 increments glaring at me like a challenge. Why not scratch them now? I grabbed a quarter from my desk and began working through them. I didn't expect much. After all, they were lottery tickets, probably just another excuse for Kelly to roll her eyes at the game. But I kept scratching, one ticket after the other, until something caught my eye. The second ticket. I froze. There it was, the number I needed, 25,000. The scratch-off coating shimmered, but I thought maybe it was just my eyes playing tricks. I double-checked, scratching a little more, just to make sure. $25,000. My heart started to race. For a moment, I thought maybe it was some kind of joke. It felt impossible. My hands started to shake, and I had to sit down on the bed just to make sense of it. Was it real? My grandma, 82 years old, who had given me these tickets, wouldn't pull something like this, right? She was too sweet for that. But there it was, $25,000. I sat in my room, staring at the ticket for what felt like hours, trying to process what had just happened. I knew I had to tell someone. But the thought of sharing this news at that moment, right after the chaos of the white elephant game, made me hesitate. I knew how some of my family members would react. They'd think I was lucky, maybe too lucky, and I didn't want to deal with that kind of attention. So, I kept quiet. I didn't mention anything to anyone during the rest of the night, just trying to act normal. But deep down, I felt the weight of the secret. How was I going to handle this? The next morning, I couldn't keep the news to myself any longer. My mom had always been the one I went to when things were on my mind, so I decided to bring her in on my little secret. I called her and asked if she'd come with me to cash in the ticket. Her reaction was, well, surprising. She was shocked, but in a much different way than I had expected. "You're going to the casino?" she exclaimed, her voice trembling slightly. "Why would you go there? Why not just cash it in directly?" I explained to her that I wasn't really familiar with the process, and that I'd just feel safer handling the transaction there. Plus, I thought the casino would be a good place to deal with the money discreetly. I just didn't want anyone to catch wind of what had happened yet. But before I could even grab my jacket, my brother overheard. Typical. He immediately jumped into the mix, thinking it was hilarious. Come on, let me tag along, he insisted, his eyes gleaming with mischief. This is gonna be epic. I wasn't exactly thrilled about him coming, but he insisted. I warned him that it was a personal matter, but I also didn't want to deal with the fight, so we all headed to the casino. To my dismay, my brother pulled out his phone as soon as we got there and began snapping photos. He didn't even care that I specifically asked him not to share anything. Within minutes, my phone buzzed with messages, and I saw that he had posted the pictures of me being handed stacks of $100 bills at the counter. I wasn't sure whether to laugh or be furious. He'd completely disregarded my request. I felt exposed, vulnerable, and immediately regretted letting him come with me. But at that point, the damage was done. As if on cue, I was pulled into a family group chat. The messages started pouring in. You've got $25,000? So what's the deal with the lottery? Why didn't you say anything last night? The messages escalated quickly. Some people, especially those who were at the party, were supportive. Hey, congrats. That's amazing. Others were less enthusiastic. Wait, you didn't even tell us? We were playing White Elephant, and you didn't mention anything about winning. Dude, $25,000? That's insane. You could have at least shared the love. The messages were coming so fast, I couldn't keep up. Some people were upset that I hadn't made an announcement. Others started getting entitled, as if my sudden windfall was theirs to claim. I tried to stay calm, but it was tough. It wasn't even about the money anymore. It was about the chaos that had erupted over a simple lottery ticket. I made the decision then and there to be upfront. I told them I'd give everyone who came to the party $250, and I thought that would be fair. For about 30 people, that's a total of $7,500. To me, that seemed more than generous. But it wasn't enough for some. The complaints flooded in. $250? You just won $25,000 and you're giving us $250? That's not nearly enough. The arguments continued to build. People who weren't at the party demanded to be included, and others argued that $250 was still too small given how much I'd won. I tried to explain that the money wasn't a prize, and I didn't want to make the situation uncomfortable. But the more I tried to justify my offer, the more my family seemed to get angry. After nearly 30 minutes of arguing, I snapped. Look, if you're not happy with your White Elephant gifts, then that's on you. The rules were clear, and everyone knew what to expect. I'm sorry if you're upset, but you're all acting like I owe you more. At that point, I'd had enough. I told them that I'd keep the money, putting $15,000 into my savings and investing the rest. I was done negotiating. But even after I made my decision, the messages didn't stop. People were still angry, calling me selfish and heartless for not doing more. I couldn't believe it. The days that followed were full of tension. My family, who I'd always been close with, suddenly felt distant. Every time I opened my phone, there was a new barrage of messages. Some were direct, others passive-aggressive. Nice of you to keep all that money to yourself. You could have at least offered a little more to help out your family. Hope you don't forget where you came from. Each one hit like a wave, crashing over me. I didn't know how to respond anymore. The idea that they all felt entitled to more, after I had already offered a generous amount, just didn't sit right with me. But I couldn't make them understand. It wasn't about me being cruel. It wasn't about me rubbing my luck in their faces. It was about setting a boundary and sticking to it, something I didn't think I needed to explain to family. Even my mom, who had been so surprised by the win, started to show signs of disappointment. She hadn't exactly sided with me, but she had at least agreed I didn't owe anyone anything beyond what I'd already given. Yet, the constant pressure to share more, to do the right thing by family, was starting to make me second-guess myself. Was I being too hard? Too cold? But when I really took a step back and looked at the situation, I realized the truth. I didn't owe them anything. I wasn't responsible for their happiness, their expectations, or their sense of entitlement. I wasn't a villain for keeping my winnings. I didn't have to apologize for making a rational decision about my future. And yet, it didn't make the fallout any easier. My cousin Kelly, who had been the first to argue about the lottery tickets, sent me a message accusing me of being too good for everyone and how I would never fit in with the family again. That one hurt. It wasn't about fitting in or showing off, it was about making a decision that felt right for me. But I had learned something from all this. In a large family, nothing stays private for long. People can't seem to respect personal boundaries when it comes to money, and suddenly, the things that once felt special and private became part of an ugly spectacle. Despite all the negative comments, I stood my ground. I kept the money. $250 for everyone who attended still seemed fair to me, and the rest would stay invested for my future. I'd made my decision, and now it was time to face the consequences. Some people may never understand why I did it. Some may never stop being angry. But at the end of the day, it was my win, my choice, and my future. I didn't need to apologize for that. As for the rest of my family, I guess they'll just have to figure it out. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to subscribe and drop a like. It really helps out the channel.